The New York Jets have finalized their initial 53-man roster. We call it initial, not official, because as we speak, there's still moves being made. We will dive into it, but before we do so, welcome back to the Turn Up the Jets YouTube channel. As always, your host, Joe Scurto. Please subscribe to the channel if you've not liked the video, if you've actually liked it. And you could also follow me on social media platforms such as X and on Instagram. So yesterday, a lot of moving parts for Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn as they're trying to finalize this roster to prepare for September 7th against Aaron Rodgers in the Pittsburgh Steelers. As I said, there's still moves as we speak, but I'm going to get into notable releases, the 53-man roster, and there was just 3 waiver claims probably about 20-25 minutes before I made this video, and I'm sure there's going to be many more, and hopefully maybe there'll be a trade for a wide receiver, as we have just been talking about that for weeks and nothing has happened, surprisingly. But we'll try to hold on hope. So anytime when there's rosters coming out, people fall in love with guys in the preseason, and I think that's the beauty of preseason, to give these guys, these unknown, whether they're undrafted rookies or former undrafted rookies or journeymen just trying to fight for a roster spot. You fall in love with these guys because you're seeing them more than the starters, and it's just the reality. Like, people are going to be unhappy no matter who's the GM, no matter who's the coach. There's always going to be Twitter GMs, and there's always going to be some disappointment moves. And I'll say there's some moves that I was scratching my head with, and we'll definitely get into it, but some noticeable releases. Just wanted to start. Donovan Edwards, the running back out of Michigan. I mean, he had a great showing. I mean, he really did, but this running back room is just unfortunately too crowded, led by Breece Hall and then Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. And Aaron Glenn already made it notable that Isaiah Davis will be ready for week 1. And if he wasn't, maybe Edwards had a chance to crack the roster week 1, but that's just not the case. I expect the Jets to go back and grab him in the practice squad if he clears waivers. Dean Clark made some fantastic plays both games, in the Giant and the Eagles game. I honestly thought he had a shot, maybe trying to find room for special teams. Not the case. He was the rookie out of Fresno State. He did not make the roster as well. Malachi Corley, the writing was on the wall for the second-year man, the former third-round pick. I mean, just these reports coming out that he wanted, what was it, 120,000 or something like that for the number 17 jersey number from Devontae Adams, who initially offered him $20K. He refused to compete or do any type of special teams work because he said, I'm a starting wide receiver. I don't play special teams. And he was basically non-existent all 3 preseason games. And I even heard just from analysts and content creators who've been there at practice, reporting every day in practice, he was non-existent at practice. So it was just clear that this marriage never worked. He'll be known for throwing the ball backwards as he was scoring, as initially it was ruled a touchback. He had 3 catches, and funny enough, I've seen this trend: 3 catches, 3 jersey numbers with the Jets. Malachi Corley is gone. Jordan Clark, son of Ryan Clark of ESPN and former Pittsburgh Steeler, the undrafted free agent safety out of Notre Dame, was released, but the Jets also have said that they have interest bringing him back in the practice squad. Here, when it gets controversial here, Jarek Bernard-Converse, the former 2023 pick out of LSU, he had a great camp, and he was really noticeable in those preseason games, and they released him. The cornerback room, arguably one of the strongest rooms for the Jets, but you would think that Converse maybe cracks the roster. I don't think A.Z. Thomas would be an immediate role guy in this defense. Like, I won't be surprised if he's a healthy scratch for the first few games of his rookie season. It seems like he still has some growing to do, and I don't think we expected him to be a week 1 like starting caliber. Like, you have Sauce, you have Brandon Stevens, you have Michael Carter. So you're okay there, but I really thought Converse was going to make this roster. I just saw he was claimed by the Cleveland Browns. So his Jets tenure is over. And I know this had X/Twitter going a bit wild. Brandon Smith, the former Cowboy, 26-year-old, undrafted. He probably will make the practice squad, but Brandon Smith was a fan favorite, probably in terms of statistics. He was the best receiver that they had in these preseason games. He really was. And you would think that some of these guys that were kind of unknown, at least one of them would crack the roster. It is not the case for Brandon Smith. He had 10 catches, 113 yards in these preseason games. Unfortunately, he does not make the team. Eric Watts, defensive end, is another guy. He was a free agent last summer. He made the 53-man roster. He appeared in 14 games and had 13 tackles. So this is, not surprising here, especially when there was quite a few guys that we'll probably go over in the depth chart that stood out more than Watts. Carter Warren, the Jets were trying to trade him, the former draft pick out of Pittsburgh in 2023. He made 6 starts and 14 appearances over the last 2 seasons, and they were trying to trade him, but then the teams probably saw his tape, and I'm not surprised. I think his Jets tenure is over. Jamin Davis, this was a surprise here. This was a guy who was with the starters week 1 of the preseason with the Green Bay Packers, and he was a former first-round pick in 2021. Like, this was a first-round talent. I thought the Jets were going to see what they could do in the past. I know it's a new regime. In the past, the Jets have had success really getting the most out of talented players who really didn't find their footing in the NFL. I thought Jamin Davis was going to be one, and basically a linebacking room that is lacking depth behind Sherwood and Quincy Williams. Adrian Martinez, a fan favorite, the quarterback, he is cut. Martinez spent the last couple of years with the Jets. He had success in the UFL. He was a former Nebraska quarterback. It looked like him and Brady Cook were fighting over that third string quarterback position. But he was canned too. He's not named to the 53-man roster, but I think he's a practice squad candidate. And Brady Cook also waived. He also did not make the roster. So the Jets will be carrying 2 quarterbacks in Fields and Tyrod Taylor. I expect at least Cook or Martinez to be claimed. If I had to pick one, I take Cook. There's more unknown there. He's an undrafted guy. See what you can do. He's younger. We've seen what Martinez can do. Martinez is very mobile, but he just doesn't have the arm strength. I would be interested to see what Brady Cook can do, but in reality, I feel like we've just beating this like a dead horse, really, lack of a better word, because who cares who the quarterback 3 is realistically? If we're starting Adrian Martinez or Brady Cook, the Jets are done. Zach Kuntz, basically the guy who cost them the game against the Eagles last week in that poor drop. He did not make the roster. He was a 7th-round pick in 2023 out of Old Dominion. A lot of people fell in love with his just pure athletic ability, how big he was. But, I mean, this is just not an NFL talent. I'm not going to read through all of these. I'll go through all of these, rather. And Jamal Pritchard and Skinner, neither of them made the team either. I know a lot of fans wanted one of those 3 with Brandon Smith added into the mix to at least get a shot out of a weak receiving room. Neither of them made the team. I'm shocked that Pritchard didn't make the roster just due to his special teams abilities and, that move he made. He's just a firecracker, and I cannot believe that Xavier Gipson is on this roster, a guy who battled injuries, and really a guy who's had one big play in his career. He had I think he's had a couple receiving touchdowns. He had one last year against the Patriots, but come on, dude. Why aren't we giving an opportunity of someone that maybe has more potential? We know what Xavier Gipson is. Unfortunately, Pritchard doesn't make the roster and Gipson does. I know a lot of Jets fans are unhappy about that. They had waiver claims. Cam Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs. I really like this. This is a run stuffer linebacker and a guy who is a very good special teamer. And it seems like the Jets are building a pretty good unit over there with special teams, with Chris Banjo at the helm. Essa Pohl, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his first name right. He's a tackle out of Washington State, also from the Kansas City Chiefs. They add the depth there, replacing him essentially with Carter Warren and Jelani Woods. Love this move here. And I know this is a popular move of Jets fans that they really wanted this dude, a weak tight end room after rookie Mason Taylor. He is a big athletic freak. He can block. He can catch. I'm not saying this is a starting tight end, but I think he's a great number 2. You add him with Stone Smart, both big, both athletic, both can block. I love this move for the Jets. So let's dive into the 53-man roster right now that this is official. It's not going to have the new waiver wire guys, obviously, on the roster, but I expect all three to make it. Quarterback already said Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor are the lone two, with Cook and Martinez getting the axe. Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis will be the running backs. Ngannou, obviously, he's going to be a special teams guy. I don't see him getting any carries. The Jets wide receiver room looks, I mean, it looks what it looks like, right? Garrett Wilson, Josh Reynolds, Allen Lazard, according to Eric Glenn, will also be ready for week one. Tyler Johnson, Arian Smith, Xavier Gibson, and then Irvin Charles. Xavier Gibson and Charles more so going to be special teamers. Look for those five guys in Wilson, Reynolds, Lazard, Johnson, and Smith to be really the main targets for Justin Fields this year. Mason Taylor, Ruckert, and Stone Smart. Jeremy Ruckert somehow makes this roster. I am puzzled. I know it's a great story. He was a Jet fan. He's one of us. We wanted the success for him. He's playing with his old quarterback now, but what a bad camp for him. His drops continue. He's just not a good blocker in run or pass pro. I think the one great block he's ever made was off that Breece Hall run in week one on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. I haven't seen much other than that. I do think automatically that Jelani Woods slides in as the second tight end. If it was up to me, Stone Smart would stay at 3 and Ruckert would be 4. I still am really puzzled how Ruckert made this roster. Andrew Beck, the gadget player, tight end, fullback. I love the player here. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be a Pro Bowl type guy, but he's going to be a security blanket. Again, a really good blocker, better than Ruckert by far. I'm going to stop kind of bagging on Ruckert because I like him as a player. It's just unfortunate, I like him as a person, rather. Just unfortunate he hasn't panned out as a player. But Andrew Beck, I thought, was a no-brainer. They keep him, and he's the lone fullback. The starting offensive line looks like this: Olu Fashanu, John Simpson, Joe Tippmann, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Armen Menbu, the rookie out of Missouri. I would assume that this stays. I would be dumbfounded if Josh Myers wins this competition at center. I don't think it really was a competition. I think, Myers was a starting center his whole career at the Packers. Maybe the Jets just kind of persuaded him, hey, you will compete with the starting job. It's not handed to Tippmann. You will compete. But, I mean, at the end of the day, this is Tippmann's job. And Max Mitchell, Xavier Newman, Josh Myers, Marquise Hayes, and Okafor. Yeah, I'm not even going to Chukwuma Okafor. They got him from the Steelers/Patriots in free agency. So I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. And then obviously Pohl will factor in here, as well as the Jets, announced that they recently claimed him. So more tackle depth for the Jets here. And then go to the defensive side. The front line is going to look like this: Will McDonald, Harrison Phillips, Quentin Williams, Jermaine Johnson. Terrific. But then this, when it gets dicey, I really don't know about the depth here, but Tyler Barron, the rookie out of Miami, makes the roster. I think just because he's drafted from a new regime, they weren't going to just release a 5th-round pick. They're going to see what he can do, but didn't really hear much of him. Juwan Briggs, of course, acquired from the trade from the Browns. Jay Tufali, who had an up and down, but I would say more up in terms of an offseason or a camp, rather. I thought right after the first game, he was a roster lock. He would have had to really go downhill not to make the roster because he was so effective. Michael Clemens, the fan favorite, right? He survives another year. He has made the roster. Byron Cowart his situation just doesn't make any sense. So basically he can't play for the Jets. They put him on an IR spot. If he's released, he could be activated off the IR. So he's just not going to be a Jet. He's just not going to play for this team. Leonard Taylor III, loved that he made the roster. A second-year undrafted rookie free agent. They got him last year from Miami, along with Braden McGregor, kind of the same deal. Again, both of these guys made the rosters last year's undrafted. McGregor, a Michigan native. I think they really proved that. Taylor had a big game week 1 against the Packers. McGregor was all over the place week 3 against the Giants and really shined in practice, according to a lot of analysts. So they keep those guys. McGregor hopefully maybe can pan out to a decent change of pace pass rusher, because I don't expect Jermaine Johnson to have a full workload. We're literally going to see Michael Clemens a lot week 1, which is just super unfortunate. Hopefully just somehow the Jets can activate something out of him, as he's been a super disappointment. Really outside of his rookie year when he flashed a little bit on special teams, and everyone fell in love because what he looked like. But Marcelano, McCray Bull, Jamie Sherwood, Quincy Williams are listed as the starting linebackers. Francisco Muaga, another rookie from Miami, he makes the team. Zaire Barnes, I think he flashed. He makes the team. And Weston, a guy who they really fell in love with. They're placing him in IR, but they are planning to activate him to the 53-man roster. So he made the roster. He's just hurt. And they didn't want anyone to claim him because they want him right on the roster when he's back. And Cam Jones, of course, is going to be added into this group as well. Corners, Sauce Gardner, AZ Thomas, Quintez Stiggers, Brandon Stevens. Those are your corners there. Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see Converse here. I really would have, but unfortunately, he's not. I still think the Jets' corners are very strong. Tony Adams, Andre Sisco will man the starting safety roles. Isaiah Oliver and rookie Malachi Moore make the roster, of course. And that's kind of how the Jets' defense and Tony Adams, that's how the Jets, I already said Tony Adams, that's how the Jets' defense is set up. Special teams, Nick Folk, a longtime friend. We knew he was going to be the starting kicker. Austin McNamara, who was just incredible, a first-year kicker. He was incredible during the preseason. He had like some of the highest PFF stats out of any punter, even though I'm going to overreact to the preseason. But, punter is kind of a better feel for it because, like, it doesn't matter who you're playing against, right? Maybe the pass or the punt rush, rather, will be a little more advanced, but nothing too crazy. So hopefully they found a dark horse and a dark horse in McNamara there. Xavier Gipson already said he won that punt return, kick return job. Ngannou probably going to be mixed in there. And then the longtime Jet, Thomas Hennis, who's been through like 50 coaching regimes and is the long-term, the longest tenured Jet on this roster. So just going over that very quickly, the New York Jets have officially made their initial roster. It's not their official roster, and I still think they'll probably make some moves. All in all, I mean, a lot of these moves expected, but again, I'm shocked that Gibson makes the roster. I'm shocked that Rucker made the roster. And, I just wish one of Skinner, Pritchard, or Brandon Smith made the roster. Who knows what those guys would have been. I would have went with Pritchard just because of the talent he had on special teams, and I think he could have actually made an impact. Like, if Smith and Skinner made the roster, like Smith 6'1", and then Skinner was a bigger receiver, which why I think people liked them, 6'5", but like they would have been like the fifth receiver. Really, would they really made an impact? No, I think Pritchard would have made the most impact. An athletic freak, a guy who can obviously be effective on special teams. I think they missed out on that one. Hopefully they bring him to the practice squad because I just don't see how Xavier Gibson is still on an NFL roster. I like keeping two quarterbacks. I really do. I don't think Cook or Martinez deserve to be on a roster. And we'll see. We'll see who they end up bringing back to the P squad prior to this NFL season. But everyone who stuck around and watched the video, appreciate all your support. I know I just like read names the whole time, but I just wanted to go in here and just give you some deep coverage here. Not even, just to give you an idea who's on this roster for the Jets. And I will update more as there's moves going forward. Again, I love this Jelani Woods take. I think this is just a really important move for the Jets because this tight end room is super weak. And this is a guy who's been a starting NFL player since he was been in the league in 2022. So I really like that move. I expected them to make a tight end move. I think they're going to have to add another wide receiver. I've been just saying it and saying it over, and I'm sick of hearing myself saying it, but it's just the truth. They have to add somebody. I'd be absolutely shocked if they roll in with the 5 that they chose, or really 6 with Xavier Gibson. But we shall see, I guess. Well, everyone, appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already liked the video. If you've actually liked it, you could also follow me on social media platforms such as X and on Instagram. Until next time, see you.